And now we're in the second book of Moses, the second book of the Septuagint, as it's called as well. And this is Exodus. And I did promise in the last video that I would share with you a little bit about the Bible dictionary. So what is the book of Exodus? This is kind of cut down. It's almost exactly what's said in the Bible dictionary. Bible dictionary goes through a little bit more of what happens chapter by chapter almost. But this gives the same rundown as that would have, which we didn't have before. Whenever I'd read before, I would always look up what the book was about, why it was written. One reason is because, remember, these are different genres. It's not just a historical document that a lot of people try to treat it as. And sometimes they're poems, sometimes they're other things, and it's good to know what you're reading before you read it. You don't go into a movie theater hoping to see a comedy if it's a horror movie. It doesn't work that way, you know. You don't start laughing in the middle of horror and everybody's like, what? That's wrong. This is, you know, or an action movie or whatever. You don't do that because it doesn't work that way. And so knowing what the book is about is really good, and you can do that in the Bible dictionary, and this one has one here at the beginning. The book of Exodus is an account of Israel's departure from bondage in Egypt and their preparation to inherit the promised land as the Lord's covenant people. The word Exodus means exit or departure. In this book, we witness Jehovah's mighty power and his conventional love. Exodus also provides details of Moses' upbringing and the beginning of his ministry as a great prophet of the Lord. The events recorded in Exodus, such as the Lord parting the Red Sea, providing manna in the wilderness, and giving the Ten Commandments, became foundational to Israel's identity as a people. Jesus Christ and his prophets have referred to these miraculous events to teach us a variety of gospel principles. Israel's escape from bondage and their journey through the wilderness can symbolize their journey through a fallen world and back to the presence of God. The book of Exodus is divided into two main sections. Chapters 1 through 18 recount the calling of Moses and the deliverance of Israel from bondage. Chapters 19 through 40 describe the Lord's covenant with Israel and giving of his law at Mount Sinai, along with the construction of the tabernacle. So we've got these two sections, and we're going to get through quite a bit of that in the next couple of weeks. Let's get right into it. Now these are the names of the children of Israel which came into Egypt. Every man and his household came with Jacob. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, Zebulun, and Benjamin. Dan and Naphtali, Gad and Asher. And all the souls that came out of the loins of Jacob were 70 souls, for Jacob was in Egypt already. And Joseph died, and all his brethren, and all that generation. So let's bring it from Joseph down to here. That's how he's trying to do there. And the children of Israel were fruitful and increased abundantly and multiplied and waxed exceedingly mighty in the land, and was filled, and the land was filled with them. Now there arose up a new king over Egypt, which knew not Joseph. Well, one thing is remember, this is quite a few years after Joseph had come in. I mean, a few hundred years since Joseph. And like I said, things change over time. Even the last 50 years has changed if you think about it and think of all the things that have changed in not even 100 years. There is on the right-hand side, though, this thing. What might it mean that the new king of Egypt knew not Joseph? Many scholars believe that during the time of northern Egypt, northern Egypt was ruled by the non-Egyptian Hyksos people. Eventually, a new dynasty overthrew these foreign rulers, which may explain the statement that there arose up a new king over Egypt. The new Pharaoh became wary of the Israelites for a variety of reasons, including their increasing population, the potential for them to ally with Egypt's enemies, and possibility their connection to the former Hyksos rulers. So it's not just time has passed, but it kind of gives an idea that the politics have passed as well. Different things have gone on that are different. They're ruled differently. And it's the fact that it says there arose up a new king, which suggests what it said, that the old kingdoms were overthrown, which is part of the history, and it's good to have that in there, to know this and know the setting. And he said unto his people, Behold, the people of the children of Israel are more and mightier than we. Come on, let us deal wisely with them, lest they multiply, and it come to pass that when there falleth out any war, and I believe, as you see, we've got some colored, when war happens, basically, or breaks out. It's just a different way of saying that. They join also with our enemies and fight against us. That was in that description that we just had. And so get them out of the land. And we understand it because of what they said. And, therefore they did set over them taskmasters to afflict them with their burdens. And the burdens, I believe, is... it doesn't say it here. It will say it, that burdens are also labors and working. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities. And when it says treasure cities, it's meaning cities that store grain, Pithom and Ramses. And it just lets us know that Ramses is... I'll just go there really quick. Ramses, spelled differently, also former Hyksos capital of Joseph's time. So they're turning the capital into basically a store for grain. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew, and they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And as we see here, they're apprehensive. Not just like, I don't know about these. They're apprehensive. They feel... they're not grieving. They're apprehensive about it. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel serve with rigor, and they made their lives better with hard bondage. And like I said, bondage is more hard labor. So they kept them really busy in mortar, in brick, in all manner of service in the field, all of their service wherein they made them serve was with rigor, working hard. And the king of Egypt spake unto the Hebrew midwives, of which the name of one was Shipporah, and the other was Puah. And it's good to remember them, and that's why their names are there. And he said, when you do the office or serve as a midwife to the Hebrew women, see them upon the stool, and see them upon the stools. If it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. This should curb the population, is what he's thinking. But the midwives feared God and did not, as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men, children alive. And this is why we remember them in this. And it says, what does it mean? The Hebrew midwives feared God. The Hebrew midwives, Zipporah and Puah, defied Pharaoh's command to kill Hebrew infant sons because they feared God. To fear God means to have reverence and deep respect for him. Elder David A. Bednar taught, unlike worldly fear that creates alarm and anxiety, godly fear is a source of peace, assurance, and confidence. He further explained that godly fear encompasses a deep feeling of reverence, respect, and awe for the Lord Jesus Christ, obedience to his commandments, and anticipation of the final judgment and justice at his hand. One thing to remember also in this story, when we go through the Bible, is how many times they say feared God. Always look at it as that deep respect and not, as we often think, fear to, oh no, I better not do this or he'll strike me dead or anything like that. Often we get that, but it's not. It's about loving him and respecting him with a great love and respect. That's a whole different type of fear than what we're used to thinking of fear. And you need to have that when you're going through this, or else you'll miss the messages of this. In this sense, they probably feared the king of Egypt the way that we're talking about, what we talked about, worldly wise. But the fear of God, that deep respect, was so much greater that even fearing the Egyptian king was not a problem. And the king of Egypt called for the midwives and said unto them, why have ye done this thing, and saved the men, children alive? And the midwives said unto Pharaoh, because the Hebrew women are not as the Egyptian women, for they are lively and are delivered ere the midwives come unto them. They're using the excuse, you don't understand this people as well as you think you might. They're not the same as, they don't have the same traditions, and they birth their own children, basically. They don't wait for us. That's their excuse anyway. Therefore God dealt well with the midwives, and the people multiplied and waxed very mighty. And it came to pass that because the midwives feared God, he made them houses or households. And the Pharaoh charged his people, saying, every son that is born ye cast into the river. And I think the footnote there, to the Hebrews, making sure that we're aware that it's to the Hebrews, not just every son that is born. And every daughter ye shall save alive. And we're going to leave it there. It's going to be a cliffhanger, quite literally, because, anyway. And we'll pick it up tomorrow and see what happens. And we'll see you tomorrow.